We're on our comfort energy today, so we want to thank Charmin for sponsoring this episode of More Than That. Learn more about the softer side of life at Charmin.com. Sleep is the cousin of death. You've got the same 24 hours as Beyonce. I'll sleep when I'm dead. No, and definitely no. Rest is an integral part of our day, and nothing can be achieved without it. And it's a newfound idea in our community. In our Juneteenth episode, Michaela Angela Davis said rest is a revolution. Why? Because our ancestors didn't have a choice to rest. And in many ways, rest has become a form of resistance. On this episode of More Than That, we're talking about the power of rest and restorative practices with therapist and New York Times bestselling author Nedra Tawwab.
You know, sometimes when you notice that certain things disturb you, it's not about building your tolerance. It's maybe about saying, hey, I shouldn't even be tolerating this. We really have to think about what our bodies are trying to tell us and not trying to tell our bodies what it should be doing.
And we're chatting with writer and comedian Chris Spencer about how rest helps to balance the grind.
When I was younger, I felt bad when I had to tell people no. Now, it's invigorating. I love it because I've been punishing myself by trying to make you feel better.
And I know how difficult it is to admit that sleep feels better than crossing items off of your to-do list. But the truth is, the constant pressure to be on can have us feeling off for weeks.
My mind get to going 90 miles an hour. I get to thinking about all type of this, and then I don't go to sleep. And then next thing I know, I've been laying down for 40 minutes, and I'm still like, why I ain't sleep yet?
I feel like Puff Daddy's to blame. He started it. He started this grind culture. He was like, you sleep when you die and all that. And it was spreading like cancer, man. Like, all you do was work. You don't eat. You don't sleep. You grind sun up, sun down. But I feel like it starts in the household, too, because I looked at my mom and how she was moving. And in my eyes, it was nonstop watching her. So I'm like, okay, well, that's the bar.
So it's just like you had a long day, you done a million things, made 1,000 decisions, and then you realize, oh my goodness, you feel like you've been holding your breath and you catch yourself catching your breath.
If anyone knows grind, it's Chris Spencer. He's a husband, father, comedian, writer, host, podcast host, and creator and executive producer of The Real Husbands of Hollywood. But with so much going on, how does he stay balanced? So, Chris, how do you define grind?
You're working as hard as possible to achieve a goal. The brakes aren't working anymore, so it's now metal to metal. You're bone on bone, and you're still doing whatever it takes to make sure your goal is achieved. I'm actually trying to get ready for to do a comedy special. So that means I'm on stage 5 or 6 times a week, and then I go on the road. There's at least 2, 4, 6 shows on the weekend.
Wow.
So I'm not playing around with this. I'm trying to go get it. But when it's time to shut it down, I shuts it down. Like, my wife hates me at night because she knows if we ever try to watch a movie and it's after 8:15, I'm down for the count. She tries to talk smack to me about, watching programs ahead of her. What episode of Succession are you on?
Right.
And you mean you watch Ghost without me? And I'm like, well, our hours are different. Yeah, because you always fall asleep. I said, okay, well, I wake up in the morning because you don't wake up as early as me.
Right.
So I'm gonna watch the shows in the morning, and you're gonna watch them at night. But we can start off together on the couch before I fall asleep. Being 54 years old, I am sleepy right now. When I wake up in the morning, I want a nap. Naps can be delicious.
I agree.
You feel like when you get this age, you feel like a little kid. Like you need a nap, but you won't fight it like you did as a little kid. Like a little kid is like, no, I don't want to go to sleep. And I'm like, please, just let a brother have 42 minutes.
42.
Naps are so important to men, especially husbands, right? But your wife usually doesn't like it. I remember one time my friend called me, and he's like, dude, you ain't gonna believe this. I'm like, what? He's like, I took a nap. I said, are you crazy? I'm on speakerphone. And I hung up. right? Because my wife said, "Oh, y'all be taking naps? Is that what's going on? Y'all still taking naps?" They're fantastic.
When was the last time you actually took a nap?
Last time I took a nap, I was taping the show, and they were running behind, and they said, "Chris, we're gonna need you in like an hour." I was like, "Perfect," and I went into the trailer and had the most fantastic nap ever. Nobody bothered me. I like to be warm. I went old school, had some patchouli oils in the room.
Come on, patchouli.
And I was out for a good 46 minutes.
46.
And I woke up like I could take on the world. It was orgasmic.
Okay, everyone, I am so honored and I've been obsessed with Nedra for the past several years. You are one of the most necessary people to follow, I think, on Instagram because so much of our timelines are distracted by mess and so many of us need that help and oftentimes just don't even know where to start, how to start, and how to stay consistent in that part of the journey because it is still so new. When you think about the history of Black people in this country, it still is a very new, consistent idea that I think our generation has done a great job of being like, well, we gonna get healed, okay? Somebody's gonna figure it out. And that brings me to my next question. Why is it difficult to set boundaries? What are some of the common reasons you've seen, especially within our community, that people have issues setting boundaries? Like, why is it such a hard thing to do?
I don't know if it's hard to do within our community. I think that we believe it's hard because we want to use that as a way to not do it. Because I hear Black folks setting boundaries all the time.
Tell me about what you hear, because I want to hear, because maybe I do too, and I just don't know it's a boundary.
Don't wear any shoes in my house is a boundary. Don't eat in my car is a boundary. You have to smoke on the porch. I remember in high school, I had a friend and her mother had a white sofa.
Come on.
And her mother said, do not sit on that sofa with jeans in particular. Just don't do it because the jeans would bleed on the sofa. Do not sit on the sofa. And I mean, as soon as she saw a little blue mark, she's like, who sat on this sofa? That is a boundary. Don't sit on this sofa with jeans. You can wear leggings. You can wear perhaps white jeans, but do not wear any blue jeans on this sofa. That is saying that this is my stuff and it is not to be touched. This is my carpet and I want to keep it clean. This is my house and I don't want it smelling like smoke. Those are all boundaries.
That is so true. There is a lot that our grandmas and aunties and our dads and our uncles have taught us that I'm like now looking back at my life, I'm like, okay, I'm sure we have a lot of listeners who are like, okay, that sounds all good and well, but I got a cousin named Nay. And sorry to all the Nays out there, but Nay is doing too much. And I have no idea how to tell Nay no without breaking Nay's heart, something like that. But finally, you're tired. What's a starting point to let them know that you need to take some of your agency back and to set a boundary with them?
You said a lot and I'm going to say a little. I think you could potentially say, I am not able to help you. Wasn't that so simple?
Yes, it really was.
It was so simple.
It's been a time, y'all. These past 2 years, woo, I don't know about you, but I'm wiped out. As we roll through work, family, and the constant go, 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 comfort is key. For many of us, the bathroom is a space for solitude where we can unwind, recharge, or even rap to our reflections in the mirror. And as we prioritize peace, we're reclaiming our time. Charmin cares about self-care. Enjoy the go on the softer side of life at Charmin.com.
Sometimes we need digital rest. Sometimes we need relationship rest because there can be relationships where people are particularly chronically, they're having issues and it is draining, it is distracting, it is consuming, and you may need some rest from that. Just to say, This is a day where I will not talk to Tanisha. This is a day, I don't know a Tanisha. But
Sorry,
this,
Tanisha.
this is a day where, perhaps I need to let this call go to voicemail or not respond to this text. I sometimes miss house phones where we could really just be unavailable. But you know what I think of when I think of that? I come back to the thought, I am the house phone because I am the boundary. So if I want to be away when I am away, don't pick your phone up. If I want to be unavailable, don't be available. Like, I thank AT&T and Sprint and Ameritech and all them companies for having the house phone. But in today's society, Nedra is her own boundary around availability. Now, of course, we want to show up and be there for people, but the most important person we need to be there for is ourselves. So when you notice your energy declining, I mean, there are some people, if they call my phone right now, I might just shrink into a little mushroom because I just could feel the energy from their name. Like, oh, God.
Here we go again.
Here we go. So we know that. We feel that. And often we ignore it because we feel obligated to answer the call, not delighted. We feel obligated. We feel like, oh my gosh, if I don't answer this person is going to ask me, I called you and you didn't say. We have to shape our relationship so people can expect that we are not always available. I'm resting this Saturday. I will be turning my phone off. If it is an emergency, you're going to have to call my neighbor to come knock on my door.
Okay. And so this conversation is also about rest. And rest is such a beautiful thing. I love sleeping and I love resting. Can you help us understand rest in all the ways that you can rest in your own life?
You know what? As a mother, we get really caught up in doing. And one of the things I tell my kids is, I'm about to sit down. Anything you need, ask me now, because for the next hour and a half, I am watching TV. So if you need a juice, a shoe tied, you got some new dance you want to show me, your braid coming loose, tell me now. Because once I sit down, I'm not doing anything.
Wow. Your kids are dope. Wow.
Well, they continue to, they try it, but they won't ask you to do anything. It's more like showing me stuff, which is fine. It's like, okay, I see it. But I think we have to let people know where we are with our need for rest.
And just say, hey, sis, I'm tired today. I'm gonna get to you when I can get to you.
And sometimes I get pre-tired. I get tired knowing that something is coming up. If I have a busy week, let me relax this weekend because I have a busy week next week. I'm pre-tired.
Come on, fill up the tank so you can drive to where you need to be. Thank you. Now I can tell my friend, and y'all, I got a crazy week coming up. It's about to be, Super Bowl out here. I'm gonna be sleeping. Okay.
I'm resting before I have to rest because I know next week this is what I have to do. So today I'm not doing anything. The important thing is remembering that you have the right to create a space for rest, to create a space for safety, because this is your life and you only have one.
Can you speak to me a little bit about what happens to our bodies and our minds when we do not rest?
Often we will start to have headaches. We'll start to have psoriasis on our skin. We'll start to have eczema, stomach issues, all sorts of stuff. And instead of really tending to our need for rest, we will take a pill. We'll try to cat nap. We'll drink some coffee. When really what your body is saying is go sit down.
Wow.
I do think we have an understanding of rest as only sleeping, which is a great way to rest. But there are so many ways to just detach from doing other than sleeping. I don't want sleep to be the only time when we could rest. Rest other than sleep might look like engaging in hobbies, connecting with yourself, connecting with friends, practicing doing nothing, meditating, sitting in quiet, reading for pleasure, or just experiencing some type of joy in your life.
Yep. Anything that involves joy.
How can I be less productive? What do I need to do that is doing nothing? Why am I doing this? Is it to achieve a goal, or is it simply to relax? I think about my grandparents who worked very hard, and rest was just not a part of what they did. Rest was like, oh my gosh, you being lazy. My grandfather came to live with us for a bit. And I remember whenever I took a nap, he would say to me, like, why are you sleeping? Like, get up and do something. He didn't understand rest. He's like, resting for what? You don't rest? What is that? Because we've been so programmed to think we constantly have to be doing.
You know, I know even though we aren't on the plantation per se, that lack of rest came from up at 4 a.m., going to sleep when the sun goes down, and teaching that to every generation afterwards.
Well, we don't have to be on a plantation to have plantation thinking. And I think that's one of the cycles that we are continuing to break, because there has been this idea that our worth is tied to, because it was. We do have to ask ourselves why. Why is it never enough to just sit on the couch? Why is it never enough to just enjoy the sound of the wind on the porch? Why is it never enough to just sit in silence? Why is it never enough to just rest?
That's so good. That's so good. And, you know, we all have, I think, breaking points, or many people have experienced breaking points where they realized, okay, my rest is serious. And so when we think about our plates and how to divvy up some of the things, to set boundaries on our time and what we will and will not do, what is some advice that we can give to those of us who have been raised to be fiercely independent on how to let go of some of the things on our plate?
We can't do everything alone for an extended period of time. It is so important that we get rid of this idea that being strong means not needing other people. There is a lot of strength in acknowledging your needs to another person. I have felt the most moved in life when someone has told me how they feel, when someone has made a genuine request of me. That's when I felt the most connected. I didn't feel like, oh, this person is weak. I'm like, wow, I need to start talking to people like that. That's when I feel like this person is really courageous and strong. They're really, asking for what they want. I don't think strength is seeming as if you are needless. That's not strength.
Strength is asking for help.
Absolutely.
Get what you want in this life, and let that be rest, and let that be wellness, and let that be all the things that we need to be more well. This conversation has been so filling, and I just thank you so much for being here and sharing, but also just all the work that you do, because you really are just helping so many of us who might not even know that there are things that we have been doing well. Because this whole time I was like, wait, I've been setting boundaries. I just didn't know that they were boundaries, because I didn't have the language to call them that. I want to thank our guests for joining me on today's podcast. Yes, many times I felt read during this episode, but I felt like it was a great read that I needed. One of those reads that'll change my life. Remember to check out the show notes for all the resources mentioned throughout the week. Next week, we're talking more history, family history. We're hearing about the stories that inspired our guests to thrive and the traditions that our ancestors have passed down through the generations. Until then, I'm headed to get some rest like Nedra told me. This conversation was such a blessing. Thank you, Charmin, for sponsoring this episode. Head to Charmin.com, and remember, you take care of so much. Don't forget to take care of yourself. Don't forget to hit subscribe, give us a good rating, and follow us at More Than That Show on all platforms.